Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into softball at the college level. My guest today is Christopher Stelma. He's the head women's softball coach at St. Peter's University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Anthony.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I actually did 2 years at the County College of Morris in Randolph, New Jersey. I graduated from Vernon High School, went there, did 2 years, played 2 years of baseball at the County College of Morris. And a little bit about the recruiting process, I knew nothing about it. And one day there was a Post-it note by the phone that said, call the University of Rhode Island. So I graduated with an associate's degree from the County College of Morris and went on to the University of Rhode Island. I entered there as a junior in college, a junior athletically, played 2 years of college baseball there, won an Atlantic 10 Conference Championship, and graduated with a degree in communications.
Great, fantastic. So let's go back in time before we get into what you're actually doing. So in high school, when did you start thinking about college? Was it freshman year, senior year? When did it all start for you?
Well, I had an older sister who was in college by the time I entered high school. So familiar a little bit with the process that you are supposed to graduate high school and hopefully be lucky enough to go to college. So I had that college atmosphere going to my sister. She was in the marching band, so going to the college football games, seeing a college campus. I didn't think about where I would like to attend college probably until about my junior year of high school. I enjoyed playing ball, hanging out with my friends, and the process was pretty easy for me because I stayed close to home.
Yeah.
You know, I had options, but I was pretty guided on I wanted to play baseball, and it was probably summer of my senior year before I made the decision of where I was going to attend the following fall.
Gotcha. So did that make it easier for you to then go to the 2-year college before to go to a 4-year college?
Absolutely. For me, it was a very good idea to be at home, start the college process. You know, you're on your own to go to class, and it's the same experience except where you live. But for me, being close to home those first 2 years, I think was very beneficial and came back to me in a good way when I graduated from the University of Rhode Island.
Yeah. So now you're at University of Rhode Island. What's the school like?
The school's gorgeous. I lived in a beach house my senior year, but again, not really traditional. I went from living at home to then living off campus. So I actually skipped the college dorm and that lifestyle. So it was a bit of a change for me, and it took me a while to get adjusted to it. But luckily, having baseball and having a coach who looked over me and advisors, academic advisors who helped me out really helped me out.
Great. So now you graduate college. How does one go from University of Rhode Island to St. Peter's University in Jersey City, New Jersey, and becomes the head softball coach there?
It was quite a few stops, actually. I graduated, got a job. I was working at UPS, you know, just working, figuring out what my next move would be. And then I ended up volunteer assisting coaching baseball back at the County College of Morris. And that led into a head coaching job at the age of 23. It was something I knew I wanted to do. Unfortunately, didn't pay the bills at that time, and I had to go out and I got a job in sales. I sold industrial valves for 5 years. As I did that, and as I got a little closer and closer back into the world of baseball, I coached a little league team. A little league team turned into a group of kids I worked with, which turned into a travel team, which then turned into a whole club program. So softball came into the picture. I was working with a gentleman, and he had a daughter. So he came to me and he said, you know, we should really get into doing some softball teams, which I wasn't too keen on the idea. I was still a baseball coach at that point, but when we started doing it, I knew I have to be present. I have to do this. So my now assistant coach at St. Peter's, Sue Rufo, was one of the first softball coaches that I met and worked with. So
Wow.
we kind of came full circle there, which is nice. But we started the softball teams. I fell in love with the game. Everybody's closer. It's a little easier to instruct because you're closer. The games are quicker. And, you know, I fell in love with the pace of the game. So we were coaching a showcase team where the kids go to be seen, and that's where a lot of the recruiting process happens. And one of my players' mothers coached basketball, women's basketball at William Patterson University. So she put in a good word for me. The head coach of William Patterson came out and saw me, and then Hallie Cohen called me that Monday, and I was all excited, like, oh, you like one of my players? You know, what information can I give you? And it was, well, I'd like you to come in for an interview. So I was ecstatic to do it. I had spent time as a high school softball coach at Pope John in Sparta, New Jersey. So I jumped on that opportunity. I was there for a year and a fall. And then the St. Peter's job opened up, and that was when I had my eyes on. It's Division I softball. It's a great job for me. It's kind of what I like to do, you know, taking a team and enhancing it and kind of starting from scratch. You're not inheriting a program. You're coming in as a new coach. Mm-hmm. So I interviewed there. I was lucky enough to get that opportunity, and here we are.
Great. So how many years now at St. Peter's?
We're about to start my second season.
Okay.
I got the job in October of last year. So I actually went from a fall ball practice at William Patterson to a fall ball practice at St. Peter's, which was a little bit of a whirlwind. But our first year, we increased our wins. We didn't finish in last place of the conference for the first time in a few years. So we showed a lot of good turnaround signs. And this year's been a little bit more fun. We're a little more relaxed in that we know the process now. We know what a season entails, and we've been at it all year.
Great.
We didn't miss that first month like I did last year.
Great. So let's get into recruiting and how it all works for you. So what are you looking for in students in high school? Or do you look in high school, or do you go outside and look at club teams?
I do both. And it's easier to see a kid playing club ball in the summer because it's not during our season. So our season traditionally ends a little bit before the high school season, and there's a very small window that Division I coaches can go out and see high school games. I try to do so. And that's where you get a look at, you're not just recruiting an athlete, you're not just recruiting a student, you're recruiting a person. You want to know what that kid is like, what she's capable of, what she's not sure that she's capable of yet, that you think she can do. And the process starts by just going to a game, seeing a kid that you like, and then following them. You see them play as many times as possible. The other part of the process is them reaching out to you. And I feel like that part of it is lost a lot of times because of the recruiting and showcase system. I feel like kids think that they're going to show up and be discovered. And a lot of times I get emails from players. I look at it. If they have a short little clip of them playing, it's very helpful. And if I like what I see, I go to see them play live in a game. So the usual process is whether it's a clinic or somewhere I'm at where I see a kid that sparks my interest, or they send me something. 9 times out of 10, it's they send me something that interests me, so I go out to see them play. So, and then there's always you're there to see kid A and you see kid B. So being persistent pays off.
So do you find kids as freshmen? Do you find kids as seniors? When do you start recruiting these kids?
I'm still, being new to the program, I'm still recruiting them when they're a little bit older. Like currently we're looking at kids that are 2019 graduates. Our 2018 class is close to done. So, and that's just a product of we've only been there for a year. So I know a lot of schools start looking at different times. I like to start to really look at a kid in their junior year. It's easier. The recruiting rules, you're able to do more. You're able to interact with them a little bit more. So part of that process of I'm recruiting an individual, I like to be able to speak to that individual. I like them to come to see my school, and that's why I tend to start a little bit later than traditionally speaking, as far as age.
So now a student wants to come to St. Peter's University. What's the year like when they get there? Did they start in August? Did they start in September? When does it all start for them when they get there?
It starts a bit sooner. It starts before they get there. So as you go through the process and you're accepted and you do your orientation, you should be learning about the school and learning what's coming up. On move-in day, our freshmen, so if you're a brand new freshman coming in that first fall, you'll have a 3-day orientation before the rest of the students move in, and it's 2 or 3 day. And you move in, you'll do your orientation where you're going to different classes, different workshops to learn to be a student. You're finding out where the buildings are, so you don't get lost on campus that first week. And as a softball program, we usually back off them a little bit that first week. We need them to get acclimated to being a student, or for our players who are coming back, get used to being a student again in the schedule. So we have a fall season. We have a training season that leads them into the end of the fall semester, and then we have our championship season. So the fall season, we will play games. We can practice up to 20 hours a week, and we'll play usually between 6 and 8 games in the fall. And then once that fall season ends...
That's what, around Thanksgiving?
Our fall season would end a little sooner. This year it ended in about the second week of October.
Okay.
So we usually like to give our girls a week off. Again, we want to make sure they're keeping up with their academics more so than their athletics.
Right.
And especially at that point, the new players are doing this for the first time. So we usually at that point give them a week off, and then they continue with their strength training, and they're allowed to do individual training with their coaches.
And that takes them all the way until January?
That'll take them until about 10 days before their finals, and then they focus on their finals, and then they go home for break.
Okay, and then they come back in late January or early February?
Yeah, they come back. Our girls came back January 18th this year.
Okay.
And when we're in season, we get them going right away. So we began our in-season practices right when they got back. Our girls practice early in the morning every day. So we come in, we take care of what we had to take care of, and then they go take care of what they have to take care of as students. So we don't have a lot of time. You get about 6-7 weeks to get ready for the season once they come back. And this year our season opens March 3rd down in Maryland. We're going to a tournament. We'll play 4 games down there. It's the girls' spring break. So we'll come back a few days, then we leave for Tennessee for a little warmer weather trip, which is always nice. So the early going of the season, we're usually playing on the weekends as the weather warms up north, and then we'll start really going at it 6 games a week, playing 1 game during the week. Our conference season is weekend doubleheaders. So Saturday and Sunday you'll be spending on the field playing your conference rivals.
Yeah. So now once they finish the season in the spring, do they then go on a travel team, or do they just work out until the following year?
It depends on the individual. So we're hoping they're playing and working over the summer, but that's up to the player. Like we wouldn't place a girl on a team to play for the summer. That's up to their discretion. There are 23U leagues and tournament teams that some of the girls play on. Some of them like to get away from it for a little while and work on themselves, work on their speed, agility, strength, and kind of let the softball wait till they get back. But that's a preference on the player.
Gotcha. So now, academic-wise, what do the students need to get to St. Peter's University? Is it A's, B's? What are they looking at?
The higher, the better. And hopefully in most programs, the minimum isn't what we're looking for. I usually look for a student athlete who's got over a 3.0 GPA and hopefully is around 1100 in SAT. And I don't spend as much time dissecting their SAT score. You can kind of get a feel for if a kid's a good student or not based on their GPA and course load as well. But I tend to try to recruit a student athlete that has a higher GPA and test score.
Now, when you look at them academically, do you do anything during the seasons to help them academically at the school?
Absolutely. There's many different things we do. We have a full-time academic advisor who's the liaison to athletics. So she helps them make their schedules. They get priority registration, which means they'll get to register a fraction of a time, but before the rest of the student body. So they'll meet with their academic advisor, then they'll meet with the liaison to athletics who has my schedule, so they know when to schedule their courses so there's no conflicts. If there is a conflict, obviously academics takes priority. But we try to do the best we can to get them the best schedule and still keep them on track to graduate within our softball schedule. We also, all incoming players spend mandatory study hall hours. Coaches are free to regulate that based on how the student's doing, what you think their needs are. And there's tutors available not only on campus, but in those study hall sessions and within the athletic department as well.
Great. So now, a student comes to St. Peter's University, what can they expect at the university? What's it like? What's the atmosphere?
I love to explain it as it's a small school in a big place. We're right by Hoboken, New Jersey. We're a stone skip from New York City. There's a lot of big, exciting things around you. It's a small campus. I always like to tell the recruits when they come in with their parents, if you hit the snooze button on a class, it's possible I'll find out you weren't there before you wake up. So it's a nice in that you have that kind of safety where there's eyes on you that can help you at all times on campus, but you're in a very exciting area as far as New York City, even the waterfront down in Jersey City. It's a fun area to be in.
Yeah. So now the classes and the dorm rooms and things, are they all on the campus as well?
Yes, our actual campus is about a city block wide by 2 or 3 city blocks up. So what you have is our campus within a few blocks of Jersey City. And it's built like a lot of traditional colleges. You have athletics in one area, then you move up, all your classrooms are there, there's a nice courtyard. Then as you go up, it's the dining halls, the residence halls. We also have on-campus apartments, which they are on a city block. They line the street going down the campus. And it's apartment buildings that have been renovated. It's nice living.
So the campus is on like a hill of some sort.
Yeah, well, it's a very slight hill. It depends who you talk to and how hard we practice that day. But yeah, it's a very slight hill, but it's not spread out over the city.
So if it's a city campus, where do the games play? Where do you play your games?
We play our field. It's within Lincoln Park in Jersey City. It's called Jarashak Park, and it's our soccer field, our baseball field, and our softball field are all in one area. It's about a block and a half off of our campus. Okay. So on practice days, we transport our players there by van. Same on game days. So it's slightly off campus, but it's our space, which is it's nice there because a lot of times you're a city campus, you're competing for field space.
And what are some of the teams that St. Peter's plays against?
We play in the MAC conference, so we play teams like Ryder, Marist, Manhattan, Monmouth, a lot of other schools that are kind of city type schools. This year we're going down to a tournament in Coppin State. We're going to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County twice. And we're going out to East Tennessee State University, where we'll play them, Austin Peay, and Jackson State.
Wow!
So it's kind of spread out. And during your non-conference schedule, we'll play schools like Lafayette. We play Drexel, just different schools that are you can get there within an hour and a half, and it's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah. So now the students when they're at the campus. What are some of the other things that students can do outside of just softball? Is there extracurricular things that these students get involved in?
Absolutely. We have girls who not only are involved in extracurricular activities, but they'll work for the athletic department. They'll work for different areas on campus. We always seem to have a resident spin instructor within our team, which is fun because then the girls are doing a little extra during the week because they go to support their teammate. And there have been players who have formed their own clubs. I mean, our girls are very active within the campus, which is beautiful because everywhere they go, people are happy to see them, which makes my job a little bit easier too at times.
Yeah. So how about financially? Parents always say, schools are expensive these days. What does St. Peter's do to help with that financial burden?
That's why we recruit who we recruit as far as GPA. Not only do we know they're going to be successful, but our school gives out both acceptance awards based on your academic standing in your high school, so your GPA, your SAT or ACT score. But we also, being a Division I program, also can give athletic aid too. And to kids who, I tell, especially softball players, if you want to go and play at the next level, most of the aid you're going to get is going to be tied into your academics. So that's very important, and that starts at a young age. That starts your freshman, sophomore year. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough to battle back, and it's so important. Not only because the main goal is to get an education, but for our school, that's more of a financial helper at times than our athletic aid.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of parents that come to you and ask you about things like that?
We usually we deal direct with the player a lot, and when we bring a recruit on campus, we talk to the whole family. So we do have a little bit, admissions I think would speak more to that with parents that call and different things. Recruiting, you have a slightly different relationship. Once they get on campus, you've talked to them a few times, and it may be the first time you're meeting the parent, but they do come in with questions, and please come in with questions because you want to leave with as much information as you can when you come on a campus.
Now, do you have some type of training with on campus outside of the school year? Is it during the summertime? Do you do different types of camps or things like that where students from high school can come and basically try out?
Well, it's not a tryout. We hold skills clinics, and you're coming to kind of live a day in the life of a St. Peter's Peacock. You come in. You work with our coaches on the field. Our players will be there. We do one in the fall. We do one in the winter, and we're going to try to do one late spring this year, and probably around May. But it's a skills clinic. It's definitely not a tryout, but it's a chance to interact with our players and leave with hopefully a better skill set than you came in with.
Great. Now, how do you find these kids? Do you just stay in the tri-state area? Do you go outside and comb the whole country, the whole world?
It comes to a matter of opportunity to see them. Like our current roster, we have kids from Texas, Ohio, California. We have local kids. It all depends on what you're looking for that year and where you find them. We do travel to recruit. I tend to stay a little more local, on the East Coast. I'll go down to Florida and look for players. And a lot of times the players from here are there too.
Yeah.
So it's just you go where you're going to get to see the most players. But our roster is made up of kids from all over the country.
Great. Fantastic stuff. So do you also go to high school games? Is there anything that's happening at the high school games that any of your coaches go into?
Oh, absolutely. We want as many opportunities to see kids as we can. So if our season ends before theirs and they're still playing, that's going to be a little more local. But, we've driven 2.5, 3 hours to go see a kid play in a high school game as well. So we definitely do, and players should share their schedules with us when they if you want to be seen, you have to give us places to see you.
Yeah.
And we will, if there's interest there, we will go to see any game that you're playing in that we can be at to watch you. You'll find us in those places.
Now, do they send you their tournament schedules and things of that sort?
Yeah, a good email leading into a recruiting season or a high school season will include an introduction from a player, why they like your school, because we want to know that you've done a little research and you should be picking the school first and us second because you're going to school first and playing for us second. So we like to see a little knowledge of who they're emailing, spell my name right, know the name of the school, be planning to major in something we offer, and include some sort of video of your skill set. Show us something you do good. Show us what you do after you make a mistake. It doesn't have to be edited. Keep it short. Keep it you.
And how many videos come in, and how's the length of the videos? Because that's what a lot of parents also ask is, some coaches want the whole game. Some coaches only want 2 minutes. What are you looking for? It
varies. I tend to stop after about 2.5 minutes. But if it's longer than 2.5 minutes, I can click to the next part. So however long you think it takes to show what you want to show us should be on there. Some coaches will say nothing more than 3 minutes seems to be one of the key ones, or 1.5 minutes. I'm of the belief that, hey, you may have done something in that 4th minute, and I may have luckily clicked on it and saw that. And it could be live game footage. It could be skills footage. I like a combination of the two. The shorter, the better, but it needs to be enough, too.
Yeah. Great. Well, we're coming to the end of our show.
Wow.
And usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to parents out there that their daughters are interested in playing softball?
I think they need to embrace their daughter's love of the game first and not the process of recruiting. A lot of times, club softball, which should be about learning how to win, learning how to be a teammate, learning how to deal with adversity becomes solely about getting a scholarship, getting to that next level, and they don't learn what you're supposed to be learning by playing a sport or being part of an activity. Support your daughter. Give her the guidance she needs, but it's her journey. Let her kind of steer the way. And I think that's the best advice you can give. My parents did that with me. I don't think they hounded me once about where are you going to school, right? They always let me make my own decisions and my own mistakes. But I think remember to support but not interfere with their process.
Great.
And ask questions. Know what you're getting into.
Good. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.